We are now on Mishlei 19:5. Yotes Hey. Eid Shekarim lo yinakeh v'yafiach Kazavim lo yimaleit. How'd you translate that one after you get it there? It's on. You got it. Okay.
Witness of falsehoods.
Okay. A witness of falsehoods. I don't think that means that you witness falsehoods, though. Yeah.
Will not be cleansed.
Will not be. Okay. Yeah. So Yanake, it does literally mean cleansed, but I think I'm trying to think of the most neutral translation here that captures the other meaning, because you know what the other meaning is in like a court setting?
No.
To be vindicated or exonerated. Like Tzaddik Vinaki al Taharog, you know. So will not be. I'm just trying to think of it. Is there a word that captures both meanings?
I'm sure there is.
I'm going to go here with vindicated because the court room terminology of aid seems to point more to that than cleaning, you know. And also in the Targum, he says, now this could be just a whatever, maybe that's just a literal translation. I was gonna say Sahada de Shecker lo nizdeche, and Zakai is definitely that, but maybe that's also just a literal translation of Naki. So I don't know. All right, so witness of falsehood will not be vindicated. Yeah. Yafiach Kazavim.
Something like deceitful people.
Yeah.
It will not be saved.
So yeah. So
or not the like. Drop the like. But
so a yafiach is I would translate that as a spouter or a breather, right? Because by Metzudas David just says yafiach is inyan amira. He says it just means to say, but it's definitely more than say. Sorry, Metzudas David. I mean, it's you don't just use yafiach haphazardly. So a spouter of deceptions or lies. I'm going to say lies because it's a shorter word. Will not escape.
I just came up with a wild speculative theory that Metzudas David is definitely not true.
Okay, go ahead.
That really he holds like the Meiri, but he's another Meiri, the Malvin.
Yeah.
But he's trying to give you like instruction to. He's like if you don't know the connotation of each word, he's just giving you like the basic genre of each word. Like not the
it doesn't work out. Yeah, if you delete all like whatever 60 something instances of kafal hadavar b'mil shonos from the Metzudas commentary, then I would accept your theory. Yeah. Okay, so that's it. And then Sadigon doesn't translate it. Metzudas David is not really adding anything in Targum. I don't. Will not escape. Yeah. So there. And yeah, the Targum just says Sada de Shecker lo nizdeche udemav'e chadvusa. I guess I didn't look up mav'e. I'll look that up in a second. Chadvusa is just the same thing as Kazav. Lo nismaleit. That's just lo nimal. Let me just look up mad or mav'e. Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say. I was wondering. Mav'e.
It's actually really possible that all the same.
Yeah. All right. Mim vav mav. Maybe that's not how I look it up. All right. I give up. I'm going to assume it's the same. Okay. So, and then our scroll says a witness saying falsehoods will not be exonerated, and a spouter of lies will not escape. Okay. That's pretty much the same. We could delete that. Living Knox says a lying witness will not go unpunished. Okay, so that's taking a stance more on what Yanaka is. And one who speaks falsehood will not escape. So that's, I guess, taking the Metzudas David. And it's also taking, it reverses it. So I thought Shecker and Kazav are the way I translated. I thought that Shecker is false, Kazav is lying. And the difference being, and maybe this is going to be one of our questions, intent. Well, whether you know that you're saying something false or not. Shecker is just referring to the fact that your statement doesn't correspond to reality. Kazav is that your statement doesn't correspond to your what you actually think or hold. Yeah. And then Alter says a false witness will not go scot-free, and a lying deposer will not escape. Okay, that's also taking a stance. I love. Let's just go simple here. Okay, so I guess our first question, which I just said, is what is the difference between Shecker and Kazav? And I don't even think that is a. I don't think that that's an analysis question. I think it's just a translation question that is resolved. But the fact that was it living math that I just said reversed it means that maybe you couldn't say opposite. So we'll keep in mind. What's the difference between Shecker and Kazav? Okay, what else?
What's the difference between lo yinake and lo yimalet?
What is the difference between lo yinake, and lo yimalet? Yeah.
Is this true?
Is this true? Right.
You can have, witnesses that lie and then, the other person killed and like cover up the evidence.
Yeah.
Or when someone, or for the second half, if it's, I guess this is a separate question, which is what situation in the second half.
Yeah.
But if it's if it's talking generally, then people tell like white lies and then it doesn't. Like sometimes it gets found out, but sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah. Okay, good. That's a good question. Obviously, we have to ask, what is an aid Shecker? Shekarim. And I guess the reason why I'm asking that is this literal, i.e., someone who testifies falsely in court? Or is this a more expansive definition or usage, I guess? Meaning like, for example, if I report something I saw to you, but my statement is false, meaning not in a court case. Because the second half does sound like it's not confined to a court case. Yafich Kazavim, there's nothing about that would lead me to believe that it's in the case of a court, whereas aid is like a very, court-heavy term.
Also, aid shikarim makes it sound like it's like a common thing that this
Oh,
person.
that's a good question. I mean, because the plural.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna put that as a sub question here.
Why is shikarim?
Yeah. Why is shikarim plural? And then also, what do you call it? Why not use the more common phrase? I mean, this is okay. I'll just put that in the same question, same sub question. Why not use the more common phrase, aid Shecker? Aid Shecker. Okay.
Also, just for like completeness, Kazavim is also plural. So why is that?
Yes, that's a good question. Yeah. Hold on. I had one more thing here, which is, oh yeah. So I'm not holding in Hilchos Sanhedrin or Hilchos Edus enough to like know how these terms are used, but like, is this just talking about like, okay. If we, again, I'm hesitant here because we are talking about a court case. I know Edim Zomimim, right, are when you are deliberately going in and testifying falsely in order to incriminate someone falsely, right? Is Edim Zom, is that synonymous with Eidei Sheker or not? And I'm not asking that question in general, I'm asking that question here. But like, I don't know in the general usage whether that's like a crazy question or not.
I think that's the only time in Halacha that we say that. No, never mind. There's 8 Shecker, which is like, I think 8 Shecker is.
Your testimony is like falsified.
Yeah, like
yeah.
You testify about whether you testify about a murder case, and you say the almond trees were in full bloom,
right?
And it's not. It was like too early in the season or too late in the season. They couldn't have been. That was the case.
Right.
Like, that shows that your testimony is false.
Right. That's what that's my impression also. But and that's why I'm asking the question here, which is like, I mean, again, it depends on how we take lo yinake, but if it's just talking about like the guy thinks the almond trees were in blossom, he's not going to escape from punishment. Like it's just, it doesn't seem like if Yinake is talking about punishment. So that's what leads me to believe that maybe this is talking about some sort of intentional lying, which is maybe where the living Nach got it from. But then why are we saying a Shecker? So I guess I'm just going to ask this as a sub question here: is what is the relationship between aid Shekarim and aid Zomim? Oh, we have a David Lichter. Suddenly, a wild David Lichter shows up. Hello. You can see. I'm not going to read everything because you can see it on the screen. This is where we're at right now. And then there's Zev's question. Well, the question that Zev's question was a sub question on what is a yafiach Kazavim, and then the sub question there is why is Kazavim plural? Yeah. What here? I think we definitely do need to ask what is the relationship between the two halves.
Yeah.
Because on the surface, it sounds like these are both bad, but the question is, are these both bad and then there is an unstated opposite, or are these two opposites but within the bad?
Yeah.
I'm just going to elaborate on the question of what is the difference between lo yinake and lo yimaled. Is another question on that is like what are these consequences and why are they bad? Yeah.
Do we ask what the difference between lo yinake and lo yimaled is?
Yeah.
Every time the lo yimaled, you will not escape.
Will not escape. Yeah, and that one is definitely that's the only translation, lo yimaled. But then yinake is vindicated, exonerated, not go scot-free, not be punished. Yeah.
I'm inclined to say that the first half is not talking about a court case.
Okay.
It's a person who's reporting something.
Okay.
And if you report something and you are not necessarily clear on the facts that you're reporting,
mm-hmm.
but you report it anyway as certain, then you're gonna report false facts.
Mm-hmm.
And then people will find out because they'll hear about it from through other channels, and then they'll question why were you lying about the facts, and you didn't have since you didn't have malicious intent.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to come through in terms of the way that the lie, it's not going to come through as you were trying to deceive people for some end. So it's not going to have the same sort of repercussions that scheming would. I think.
Mm-hmm.
But people are going to question your how trustworthy you are.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I like that approach. Just one question in terms of the case that you're saying this is talking about. So there is some degree of intentionality, meaning we're not talking about a guy who says that the almond. I mean, I know we're not talking about we're not talking about a guy who says the almond blossoms, the almond tree was blossoming, and then just he mistook it for an almond tree when it's something else. We're talking about a case where the person is not deliberately lying, but they are also
not expressing commitment to the truth. That's a poor one.
Yeah, meaning there's some degree of culpability here where the person could have been exact in the observations and in the reporting, and they, on some level, are not doing their due diligence, right? Is that and a case where a person tried to ascertain the truth and then just made a mistake, that's not the case we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. So yeah, so then you're saying that if you are a little bit if you're lax in your due diligence, really, that has to do with investigation. If you're lax in your your role of being a testifier
Yeah, if you're lax in your accuracy.
in your accuracy. Yeah. See, I don't know if I want to express it that way.
Yeah.
I want to say in terms of your responsibility as someone who's giving testimony.
Okay, yeah.
Because there's different degrees of accuracy that matter or don't matter. And like, we're not saying that you have to be fully accurate all the time. It's just that given the nature of the type of testimony you're giving, then you have to use the corresponding degree of like how responsible you are to convey like precision, you know? So if you're lax in that, so then lo yinake, which means that, so there's two possibilities that you said, which maybe you're saying both of them, is that number one, it will come out that you weren't accurate. So in that sense, your falsehood will not go unnoticed. And then, did you also say that that's going to like impugn your reputation as a testifier? Yeah. Okay. Right. Okay. And now let me just turn your question on you, which is, is this true? Or can we at least say the parameters in which this is true?
You're right, it wasn't true.
Yeah. And again, it's not
Can I
like
ask another question?
Oh yeah.
When we say that a spouter of lies will not escape from what?
Yeah. That's that is a good question. Did we not list that? Oh yeah. I guess that's I'm including that in here.
Okay.
But yeah, that's a good question. But meaning it's not like, again, this is Mishlei, right? So it doesn't have to be that this comes true in every single case. It just means in probability, you know. And the thing also is like, you know, there are different scenarios. For example, let's say it's a phenomenon that only you were the only one who could have seen it. So then obviously that's not going to be found out as readily as something that could have been observed by many people, you know. So like it's going to differ, but as a general policy, if you are lax in your duty as a witness to report accurately, then it's not going to be then you won't be vindicated.
So that's why I'm going to say it's a person who is an H card is someone who does this on a
okay, that's a good diuk, right? So that's why it says plural, meaning this is not a one-time thing. This is someone who routinely reports things and is lax in their accuracy. Okay, that's good. So then yafiach kazavim,
someone who's intentionally trying to deceive people.
Okay, and what's the yafiach? Okay, all right, but fine. So the kazavim is intentionally trying to deceive people. So then what's lo yimaleit?
Bad.
So certainly lo yimaleit would seem to include the first part, would seem to include lo yinake, because he's certainly going to be found out.
Yeah, and I'm saying the lo yinake is, I guess, just a little bit more about the first half.
Yeah.
It's arguably the Mishleic mida is that the person is stating it with more certainty because they like want to be believed, and then when they I'm acknowledging this is a little more speculative, then when they are found out, then they become less trustworthy to people. Right.
They're posing as an aide, which is like an official reporter of facts, and then they become degraded beneath the level of an ordinary person.
Yeah.
Even in terms of people relying on them or not relying on them. Yeah.
I've definitely heard lie.
Have you now?
There have been occasions where where either someone else has said or I said person X said X, Y, Z, but like I don't know how trustworthy, you know, like I don't know how accurate they're necessarily being, you know.
Yeah.
Like because of this.
Right. Because of this phenomenon. Yeah. All right. So so we have to answer yafiach and yimaleit, right? So we have kazavim, which is that it's deliberate lies. Now you couldn't remember. You do have an escape hatch. You could just say that yafiach is a amira. You know, you don't have to say yafiach specifically. If it's good enough for Metzudas, yeah.
I had a thought.
Sure.
That maybe a fiach. I mean, just the connotation I'm getting is like he's like a compulsive liar.
That's what I was getting also. Spout.
Yeah, he's just
breathing.
like.
I mean, yafiach is also to breathe or to spout, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, and then Louis. Oh yeah.
Sorry, what was that? Yom?
Oh yeah, Louis Male. I think. I mean, I don't know if this is also just the impression I'm getting, but it's like he's like caught in his like web of lies, and he keeps getting further and further in, and he can't like get him. He can't get himself out of his like this like massive lie that he's created that keeps getting bigger.
Yeah, I think that definitely fits with this also, and let's actually put it on pause for one second. What were you gonna say, Isaac?
I was just gonna say that breathing lies has like a connotation of like it comes as easily as
breathing, right. It's just a natural. Yeah. So let's go with this, and then we have a question now. Okay, so just to summarize here, so yafiach Kazavim is a compulsive liar, and he's not going to escape from the web of lies that he weaves, or webs, or whatever. So he was it spins? That's the word. Yeah. Exudes, extrudes. So here's the problem now, okay? And this problem is expressed by the Meiri, but not as a problem. Meiri says, "Hanigle bo heim dvarim pshutim." The external meaning is obvious things. Ki kol davar lo yichachad. Everything will not be concealed, meaning that like people will find out about it. And at some point, then his lie is going to be found out, and he's not going to be cleansed. He also says dover is just a speaker. Okay, he will not escape from suffering, from catastrophe. So I'm comfortable saying that's like what Zev was saying, like, he's just going to get caught up in the consequences of his lies. So now the question is, if we take this approach, so then what's the chiddush in the pasuk? Because this does seem like very cliche Mishlei, very Mishlei 101, So I think the chiddush is going to have to lie in. No, the chiddush is going to have to lie in the juxtaposition of the two, in putting them in one pasuk. What made you say the first half? Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. So the question is, what's the chiddush then?
So I'm going to say the first half, and it's framing it in comparison to the second half, which is that when a person does this, they're thinking of themselves as a person who's telling the truth, with possibly like a little defect in the truth.
Yeah.
But this is framing them as an ancient harm. As a witness of falsehoods, who's not going to become cleansed, and that they are similar to a person who lies and can't escape.
Okay, so I think that's a good approach. Let's just see if we could formulate it a little bit clearer. So the chiddush is in the first half, and it's talking to the first person in the first half.
Yeah.
Right. The second half is really being used the second half is really the consequence-ish, an elaboration on the consequence, or not the consequence. It's like elaboration on why the Asian garment is bad.
Yeah.
But it's addressed to him. It's not addressed to the yafiach Kazavim. And by the way, this is another problem as well, which is that, not problem, this is another just thing we have to contend with, is if we're going to interpret yafiach Kazavim as a compulsive liar, so then the question is, what is he doing in the pasuk? Because I don't really think you can. If you're already having this problem, be a compulsive liar, I don't really think Mishlei is talking to you. I mean, what was that?
Especially because he can't.
Yeah, especially because he can't escape. Right. So this solves that problem also. Yeah. Right. So I think the Mishleic Havamina here is like you're saying, like a person doesn't feel like it's that bad if you get a few details wrong or you omit a few details, but insofar as it is a distortion of truth, and because you're doing this as testimony, then people are taking it as fact, then it is a serious thing that will generate consequences. And again, like you said with the Mishlei Mida, Mida, it's not even focusing on the personal consequences. It's focusing on the fact that you're going to ruin your credibility, and you're going to do it in a way that's like, I mean, once you lose this kind of credibility, you can't really get it back.
Yeah.
You know, that is why it's such a high stakes here, because you might not be testifying about anything that's really important in reality, but like the lo yanake is very serious. You know,
Yeah.
people won't trust you.
Yeah, especially because when people, report something on it like accurately, people don't really notice that.
Yeah.
So it's not like people are gonna say, "Oh, he's been good for the past several months, so gonna trust him again."
Right. I gotta give an example, but I have to turn off the recording here. Zoom. Okay, so that's a good shot. Because I don't want to spend 2 days on this pasuk, I want to share a different approach. This is Ken and I prepared this yesterday. So look at the Metzudas David. Okay, Metzudas David says, oops, sorry, hold on. It starts on the other page. Yeah, lo yanakeh is im lo ki lo huzam bebeis din, even though he was not found to be a conspiring witness in beis din, velo kibel onsho, and he did not receive his punishment, lo yanake midin shel mala, he will not be cleansed from the judgment from on high. Okay, so first of all, factually speaking, number one, he is learning this as a case of court testimony. Number two, he's not learning this as just giving false testimony about the almond blossoms. He's learning this as a full-fledged conspiring witness. So the case is this guy goes and is a conspiring witness and does not get caught by the court. And this is saying he will get caught by God, so to speak, is that there will be a punishment from on high. Okay.
Just a clarification about the almond thing. That was saying that his
testimony is false.
His whole testimony is false.
Yeah.
Not because he's claiming to witness something that he definitely didn't.
Right.
Witness.
Yeah. Okay. So what was I going to say? Okay. So the first problem with this, by the way, is why are we bringing in the din shel mala into Mishlei? Like, not that it's inherently a problem, but like Mishlei does not usually, especially the way we learn it, does not usually talk about divine punishment. So that's just a question. Okay. Lo yimaleit, so now this is the Yafiach Kazavim, ki bavor sheragil ladaber Kazav, since he is habituated to speak lies, so that's like what you're saying, he's a compulsive liar, sofo laha'id Shecker, in the end, ultimately he will testify falsely, okay? V'lo yimaleit min ha'onish kasher yuzam, and he will not be escape from punishment when he is caught being a conspiring witness. Okay, so the question, so just to go over the facts again. So the first half, eight shekarim lo yinakeh. This is talking about a person who testifies falsely in court, intentionally, knowingly, does not get caught by the human court, and this is saying he will get caught. He will be held accountable by God. Second half is saying someone who is a habitual liar outside of court cases, compulsive liar. He will eventually come to testify falsely, and then he'll get caught in court. So it's a very, on the surface, like messy facts. And like, why are we bringing in, and he did go with that implication of like, the first half does seem to be talking about a court case, and the second half seems to be not, but then he's folding in the second half into the first half, which is weird. I mean, there's a certain economy of talking about a similar scenario, but like, it's just, what's the rhyme and reason for him taking the pasuk in this way, And also, like, what's weird about it is, so if the first guy is not going to get caught by court, but he is going to be held accountable by God. So first of all, like, what was he thinking? What's his havamina? Like, he knows he's testifying falsely, and why should he care about this? What's the consequence? Who cares? Meaning Mashach, like, if he cares about being caught by God, so then he won't do it. And if he doesn't care, then this consequence is not going to help him, And then the second guy, I mean, the fact is he's gonna, if he's lying compulsively, then the consequence that Zev pointed out is going to happen is he's going to get caught in his lies. That's going to really be the main consequence of being a compulsive liar. So why are we like forcing this into a case of saying, oh, he's going to testify in court and then get caught and get the punishment? Like that's needlessly narrow and specific, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say there's probably some specific element that pertains to the court case, although I don't know what.
Yeah. So let's think about the first half then. Okay. So what's going through this guy's head in the sense of, and I'm not asking that to get into the psychology. I'm asking that to get into why is the pasuk talking to him? You know, like if we're talking about a person who is a conspiring witness and then gets away with it, and now we're telling him, hey, you got away with it with the human court, but you're not going to get away with it from God. Or we might not even be talking about a person who has done this. We might be talking about a person who is thinking about doing this, you know, and trying to deter him. But either way, we have to say, well, how does the consequence, what is this consequence we're pointing out to him, and how does it matter? How does it matter in his opinion? I mean,
maybe he'll feel like he's making it into a reality when that happens.
Yeah.
Like when the court finds the person guilty because of his testimony, in his mind it might like become the reality of.
Okay, so that I think that's the answer. And so just to flesh this out a little bit here, so, and this is hard for us to appreciate on a real experiential level because we are not operating in a world like the Jewish courts, but in halakhic court, then all of the evidence really is through testimony, right? So the way it is here in this guy's mind is, okay, I'm going to compare it to another case, okay? Let's say he steals, okay? And he knows he steals, but then the court does not find him guilty. So he will still think, okay, I did steal though. Like I got lucky in terms of the court, but like I stole and stealing is bad. Okay. However, it's different when it comes to testimony, because when it comes to testimony, then there is a halachic reality to the testimony, that testimony, like edus emes and edus shecker, is determined by the court. So like there is this standard of truth that is entirely dependent on the outcome of the court. So yeah, he knows that he didn't actually like witness this thing, but he has this justification of the court found me, the court validated my evidence, my testimony, I mean. So it was valid. So I didn't really do anything wrong. And I'm going to give an analogy to this, even though it's not exactly an analogy. It's kind of like when you see these things when people will say like quick, like, such and such an airline like has a glitch. And like, if you, you could get a ticket to Israel for like $5, and like everyone will rush on there and like buy the thing. And like, people will feel that they didn't do anything wrong because it's in the system and the company has a policy to honor all transactions. So like, I didn't do anything wrong. Like the reality is the fact that if it were wrong, it wouldn't have gone through, or the company wouldn't honor it. But the fact that it went through and the company honors it, that is the reality, and I didn't do anything wrong. I'm totally fine, And I think that there's a way of relating to testimony in court like that, where because there is this standard of valid testimony and false testimony, which is a legal reality, then in his mind, he can justify it by saying, I produced valid testimony. And what the pasuk saying is no. What the pasuk is saying is, yeah, it's true that there is a legal reality and you might not have gotten punished for that, but there is a fundamental reality of truth and falsehood before God, so to speak, meaning in reality, not legal reality. And the fact that you sidestep the court criteria does not mean that you didn't lie. And it is the same as if you stole money and the court didn't make you liable. Yeah, what were you saying?
I think it's kind of similar to how like some actors have trouble with like blur the line between acting and their life. Yeah, right.
Okay, so I think that's true, but I'm wondering now if that is closer to the second half. Okay, so the second half is Yafiach Kazavim lo yimaleit. a compulsive liar will not escape. And Metzudas David is saying he won't escape testifying falsely in court. Okay, so the compulsive liar is someone who does not has blurred the line between truth and falsehood in general, right? So much so that he cannot control when he is lying and telling the truth. Now, the average person, the person who the pasuk is not talking to, the average person has in their mind a clear distinction between truth and falsehood. And when they lie, it's like a conscious decision to lie, you know? So the Kazavim doesn't have that. He just compulsively will blur the lines between truth and falsehood without any regard, and can't even control when he lies. And therefore, what's going to happen? So I think what they're saying that he's going to end up testifying falsely is the average person, in order to testify falsely, is going to need to break through this barrier of I'm going to lie and the stakes are really high. But the Yafiach Kazavim has already dissolved those barriers in his normal course of speech. And he's going to wander into that territory without even realizing it, where the stakes do get high and there's going to be nothing that holds him back from getting that consequence. And the example I'm going to give, and I might have mentioned this before, here's a movie recommendation that I don't recommend watching. Okay, it's a very, very good Mishleic movie. Very, 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 very uncomfortable, unpleasant movie to watch. Uncut Gems. Don't watch it. But it's about this guy who is a Yafiach Kazavim, played by Adam Sandler. It's not a comedy, it's a drama. And he is a compulsive con man. And basically, like, the trajectory of the movie, spoiler alert, is this is a guy who cannot control himself in conning people and conniving people and lying in order to get profit. And what happens is he does this as a matter of the course of his regular life, and then ends up, without even realizing it, doing this with people and with stakes that are extremely, extremely high, that you don't want to mess with these people and you don't want to lie to them. And he just does not even realize it. And that's the amazing thing about this depiction, is his personality is absolutely consistent. And it's so wrapped up in his compulsions that he just did not realize when he crosses the line. Okay. So just to tie it together, okay, and this is the part that I'm pretty sure Ken and I unified last night. The question is, will I be able to express it? What's the subject of the pasuk? So these are two people who both lack a regard for the truth, but for different reasons, okay? And in that sense, they're opposites. Is the age Shekarim does have a regard for the truth, but he rationalizes it in terms of the fact that this edus is like a different standard of truth, and as long as I meet the criteria, those criteria, then I'm not really lying, you know. So he is rationalizing it. He hasn't. Look at this. He has enough regard for the difference between truth and falsehood, such that he feels the need to rationalize it. So he's not going to go around lying everywhere. But when he can get away with it by justifying it under the auspices of this testimony system, and say, oh, the court validated it, so I did not actually testify falsely, because if I did, then the court would have caught me. So then he rationalizes it. But then the Yafiach Kazavim has no regard for the truth, because he doesn't have regard for the truth in general. He has blurred the line between truth and falsehood. So both of these people will end up, you know, getting the consequences of their disregard for the truth. You know, the Eid Shekarim will get the consequences, whether, like Isaac said, which could still be true, is that the guy could get caught later on, or before God, then this is a reality, and like that's going to have its own set of consequences in this world or in the next. And then the Yafiach Kazavim, not only is he going to get into the standard consequences for being a liar, but he'll unknowingly step into major consequences that could actually result in like his death. And that's why it's like, I think that's why it's putting it back into this context of he'll become an Shecker, because that is specifically a case where the stakes are much higher than he would be willing to gamble with if he knew that what he was getting himself into. So the subject of the pasuk is really disregard for the truth, but then just two different ways of doing it. One is disregard for the truth per se. That's the second half. The other one is rationalization, disregard for the truth, which is I'm in a different mode, and therefore like it's okay, you know? Yeah. And we speculated, by the way, that even though the pasuk is clearly talking in the first half about a literal conspiring witness, That's the pshat of the pasuk. I think this could be expanded to other types of rationalization of the truth, of distorting the truth. For example, and again, I'm not saying this is pshat. I'm saying this is like another case here. Is I've heard that in certain, I guess, certain sects of Islam or certain interpretations of Muslim law, then like it is considered acceptable to like lie to infidels. And I've heard that this is part of why, like, you know, one thing that the Western world doesn't understand about when doing business with certain aspects of the Muslim world, of like realizing that this is part of how they like do business in certain areas. So like, I feel like that would be another case where the person who is doing that knows that they're lying, but they say that in my religious law, then this type of lie is like acceptable. So they will brush it aside and not treat it as a real world lie because they have a different standard of what lying and truth telling is, you know? And I'm sure that there might be other cases of this as well, but like maybe like the noble lie type thing in terms of like kings telling lies for ostensibly for the sake of like the benefit of the populace, you know, that like in their mind it's justified, but at the end of the day, it is an actual lie. But the fact that they justify it means that they remove it from this sphere of consequences that comes about from lying. Yeah.
Could you also extend it to other like things that you might feel guilty for about, like, let's say, like, I don't know, killing and like using the fact that like you're, you know, like let's say like in the Crusades, like killing a bunch of innocent people, like, and just saying, oh yeah, it's like a religious war, so it's fine.
Yeah. So I think the similarity there is in the fact that I got to think about that one. I hear where the question's coming from. I think what's tripping me up is the fact that like here you're messing with the very notion of truth, and you're feeling like because there's a different standard, then the non-true statement I made actually is true in some way.
It's playing into the feeling of like truth being subjective.
Yes, it's playing into the feeling of truth being subjective, right?
And that's it, like by the Crusades. The person like the person who's praying in the Crusades doesn't say, you know, killing is subjective, or like,
yeah,
like these people aren't really dying.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Just another way to say it when you say the truth is subjective. So just to express the first and the second half again, the first guy really feels I'm putter from truth, and the second guy feels I make truth. You know, like I think that's like the underlying thought. Okay, good. So let's stop here, and we'll plan to go on to the next pasuk tomorrow. Quick question.